Are you looking to live close to DC but don't want to live right within that DC capital region area? Go ahead and watch this video because I'm going to give you the top 5 places to live outside of DC that are in Southern Maryland. Alright, so like I said before, today we're going to talk about the top 5 places to live outside of DC that are close to DC that are within Southern Maryland. But before we get started, I want to introduce myself in case you haven't watched my videos before. My name is Schou and I'm with EXP Realty in Southern Maryland. My goal is to help you make an informed decision to move to Southern Maryland. So if you need any help, if you have any questions, if you just want some questions answered or a tour around the different Southern Maryland area, use that contact information below and I'd be happy to help you with that move and with those questions. And also, you can also schedule a Zoom meeting with me. If you scroll down to the first comment on this video, it should be pinned right at the top there. There's a link that goes to my Calendly and it's going to let you schedule a Zoom meeting with me where we can discuss all the buying needs that you have and find the best place for us to start looking for your home. And last, if you have not done it yet or you're new to the channel, make sure you click the subscribe button, click the little bell so you're notified every single time we put out new content, and smash that like button as well so more people can see all the great stuff that we're putting out and we can help them move to this Southern Maryland area. Alright, so like I said, we're going to talk about the top 5 places that are within Southern Maryland that are close to DC. Now, all my rankings come from Nichecom. Nichecom is a great website when you're searching a new area. So this information I'm going to share with you has been gained from there, but I'll make it easier for you by doing the research for you and kind of presenting it to you. So that's the goal of today. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go 1 through 5, and it is in order based on those niche.com grades. So the very first, the number 1 city to live in, according to niche.com, that's close to DC and still in Southern Maryland, is Dunkirk. Now, Dunkirk is a small town in Calvert County. There's about 2,000 to 3,000 residents based on the 2010 census. My gut feeling is based on all the development that's been happening, the 2020 census that's just about to come out will most likely show a pretty substantial increase in population growth there. And as you can see on the screen, I have the niche.com page up right now showing you. And overall, it is the number 1 best place to live in Calvert County. So not only is it the top place to live outside of DC, it's also the number 1 place to live in Calvert County. A lot of the reasons for that, you can see that public schools are ranked as an A, good for families ranked as an A, housing is ranked pretty high, and for those reasons, a lot of people like moving to this area that don't mind the commute. Now the commute from Dunkirk to that Washington, DC area is about 45 minutes. If you have someone in your household that's working in Annapolis, it's around 40 minutes. And if you have someone that is working Andrews Air Force Base or somewhere in that area, it's about 23 minutes to get to Andrews Air Force Base. So overall, Dunkirk is great because it's pretty centrally located to all those main work areas. But you know, it's far enough away removed that you're not living within a city. That's what's kind of unique about that, about the Southern Maryland area, is if you just don't want to live like in those population centers, it really may be worth that commute, especially to Dunkirk if you're looking to do that. Now, a little bit more information. The average home price in Dunkirk is a little bit high. It's around that $430 to $475 range. You know, if we were just counting last year's sales records, it was closer to that $470 range because of the boom in the housing market. But historically, $430 has been kind of that sweet spot in the price range. There are some cons to Dunkirk because it's a more rural area, as you saw on like the top here. Going back up, the nightlife is very, very sparse in some ways. There's just not a whole bunch to do within Dunkirk itself. It's getting more shopping, it's getting more restaurants, it's getting more bars, but it's not the most happening place to be. But most people that are moving to a rural area like that, like Dunkirk, aren't looking for that happening place. They're looking to escape that happening place. So that might be the spot for you if that sounds like something you're going to do. All right, so let's go to number 2. The number 2 rated place based on niche.com that are close to DC but still in Southern Maryland is Owings, Maryland. So Owings, Maryland is another Calvert County city, and honestly, it's kind of the same feel as Dunkirk. It's a small city, or it's a small little town. It's got a few thousand residents. And it just is that more rural feel. Now, I think it's even more rural feeling than Dunkirk. I think it has less shopping opportunities than Dunkirk. Now, what it does have is big houses, With a higher price tag though, with Niche saying they're around 470, and when I pulled my data, it's around 500 was the average sale price of a home sold in Owings last year. But it does rank high in a lot of other things too, for that money. So you're getting an A-graded public school, an A for family. Now nightlife and diversity are kind of on that lower edge. So that can be something that you want to consider when you're looking to Owings and comparing them to the other areas that are suburbs, not really suburbs, that are outside of DC, close to DC, but within Southern Maryland. So getting into the commute of Owings, Owings is about 45 minutes from DC. It's about 40 minutes to Annapolis, and it's about 23 minutes to Andrews Air Force Base. So it's really similar to Dunkirk, and that's because it's only a few miles away from Dunkirk. It's a few miles to the east of Dunkirk. So if you don't mind a little bit more commute and want a little bit more space, Owings may be that place for you compared to Dunkirk. Number 3 is, guess what? Also in Calvert County. Now, number 3 is actually Chesapeake Beach. Now, Chesapeake Beach is pretty unique because it's also like a resort town. So I like Chesapeake Beach just because it's not just that rural small town of Dunkirk and Owings. It's also got some stuff going on right around it. So there's the Chesapeake Resort and Spa. There is the Rod and Reel Resort and Spa. There's a casino. There's a water park. There's all types of stuff that if you're looking for more to do than just what's within that small town or having to travel outside, you can keep pretty busy with the family right there, with the friends right there in Chesapeake Beach. Now, if you look on niche.com, you can see I have it up right now. That is the number 2 best place to live in Calvert County. So Dunkirk was number 1 and Chesapeake Beach is number 2. And if you look, it's got great scores for public school. It has great scores for housing, good family place to live, and even gets a B- for nightlife and a B for diversity. So those are some of the higher scores that we've seen in these Calvert counties, in these Calvert County towns so far. Now, kind of scrolling through and looking at them, one of the things that I really noticed is the median home value is a little bit lower. Now, I will say that's a lot to do with the fact that some of those houses in Chesapeake Beach are smaller, so you can find a smaller house on a smaller lot and pay a little bit less, and still benefit from that, that obvious kind of thread we have going here, that Calvert County can be a really great place for you to live based on these niche.com ratings. So going into commutes are going to be a little bit longer. Chesapeake Beach is a little bit farther east. It's right on the Chesapeake Bay, which is absolutely gorgeous, and so being able to use the water may be worth these longer commutes. But the commutes are about 52 minutes to DC. They're about 40 minutes to Annapolis, and it's about 30 minutes to Andrews Air Force Base. So hopefully that gives you an idea of kind of the trade-off of spending a little bit less on housing, still getting that same quality education, that same things that niche.com ranked it on, but you're going to trade that for time in the car going to your job, or maybe if you're lucky enough to still be teleworking, that maybe you're only going a few days a week to that job, but still that's time that you're using, and as they say, time is money. So my next 2, 4 and 5, are both going to be in Charles County, so we're going to switch gears a little bit here and go to a new county. So leaving Calvert, we're going to Charles, and the number 4 place that we're going to talk about is Waldorf, Maryland. Now, I've done tons of videos on Waldorf. I've done home tours on Waldorf, so make sure you go through my channel and look at all the different stuff I've talked about with Waldorf. What I would say about Waldorf is it's kind of the middle ground between being in that really populated capital region and being in a more rural area. There are plenty of little pockets in Waldorf where you can feel kind of secluded and private, but still be able to get to those main shopping areas of Waldorf, and do all those things that you would want to do without having to drive 20 or 30 minutes. With Dunkirk, with Owings, with Chesapeake Beach, you're still looking at 20, 30 minutes to go do some of those normal things that you'd be doing, going to Lowe's, going to Home Depot, all that kind of stuff when you're a homeowner. So Waldorf is really great because everything is right there. Now, with more people comes more traffic, so within Waldorf, it can get pretty trafficky. So that's something to consider, and especially during the rush hours, since people really consider Waldorf to be kind of a bedroom community where people are living there and commuting out to different places. It can get a little crazy with the amount of cars that are on there for Southern Maryland traffic. It's not like 270 above DC. It's not like the Beltway, but it still can get really kind of annoying, especially when you're moving to Southern Maryland to get away from the city, to get away from the traffic. It can be one of those things that really bother people. So just to give you an idea, the average commute for Waldorf going to DC was about 42 minutes. The average commute, now this was a little bit different, the average commute to Annapolis from Waldorf was 52 minutes. And that's because Waldorf is kind of the southwestern side of Southern Maryland, and so that's really getting further away from that eastern situated Annapolis. So if you have a household that maybe one's working in that DC area and one's working in that Annapolis area, Waldorf might not be the best place for you, just because those commutes are, that commute to Annapolis is getting a lot longer. And a commute to Andrews Air Force Base, now this one's, I think, the quickest or the shortest to Andrews Air Force Base, Waldorf is, and a lot of people choose to move there because of that. It's about 22, 23 minutes to Andrews Air Force Base from different parts of Waldorf. So number 5, my last place based on Niche.com is Hughesville. Now, Hughesville is really kind of like the Charles County version of Dunkirk and Owings, and it's just another rural area with big houses, with bigger lots, with more space to spread out, and you just don't have that same amount of shopping and nightlife to go with it. If you look on Niche.com, you can see that it doesn't score extremely high. It gets a B overall. Compare that to the Calvert County areas, which got A's. It's a little bit low, but it still can be a really good choice, especially if you want to live kind of away from that Calvert County, if you want to live away from that or Waldorf area, and if you have someone, if you have someone that's working at Patuxent River Naval Air Station in St. Mary's County, it's a really quick commute down to there and can still afford you a quick commute to go to Andrews Air Force Base or maybe up to Washington, D.C. Now the commutes to Washington, D.C. from Hughesville is about 55 minutes. To Annapolis, it's about an hour. And to Andrews Air Force Base, it's about 36 minutes. And it's about 36 minutes, 35 minutes to Patuxent River too. So it can be a good middle ground if you have like a household that maybe some members of the household are working at Andrews and some are working at Pax River. It can be that good middle ground, Hughesville can, of each person having a similar commute to where they're going. All right, so hopefully these top 5 areas to take a look at when you're looking to move to Southern Maryland to still be close to DC helps you out. If you have any questions or want to go over these one of these specific areas or multiple areas that we just talked about today, make sure you use that little contact information below and also click on that link. Make a Zoom meeting with me and I'd be happy to help you kind of narrow down your focus and go tour some properties. And like I said, if you haven't yet, make sure you click that subscribe button, click the little bell so you're notified every single time we put out new content, and we'll see you on the next video.